There's a couple of narratives going around the world about China and China's safety. You know, a lot of people say China is the safest country in the world. Some people counter that by saying it seems like the safest country because bad things that happen in China are not reported. They're suppressed. And I can tell you both things are not true. I mean, yes, China is a very safe country. I feel very safe walking around in even the most dodgy neighborhoods of big cities. 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no problem with me walking down the street alone. There are many neighborhoods in America that I would not do that, even if I was with a large group of people. Now, is China 100% safe? No, of course not. I mean, all you got to do is drive down the highway and you see it yourself. I mean, there's many dangers in this country, like there would be in any country. And it's also not true that these incidents of brutality and these, really horrific events are not reported on. Yes, they are reported on regularly. I see them in the news every day. People are aware of things that go on here. The difference is if you're not in China, you're not seeing these things being reported on by the media in your country, and you're not seeking it out. There's a feeling that somehow these stories are being suppressed, but that's not true. And that is one of the reasons why I want to bring you this story today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rojo Reads the News. I'm your host, Paul. Today I have a very horrific story that I'm going to be sharing with you. And part of the reason why I'm sharing it with you is to create some balance in my channel, to show you that, yeah, I can bring you news of different caliber, but I want to also bring you some of the bad things that happen here. And this is not necessarily indicative of the entire country. A Chinese doctor slashed 12 times for failing to cure impotence. A Chinese man has been detained after allegedly slashing a doctor a dozen times at a hospital in broad daylight. The suspect hacked the 55-year-old medic after accusing him of failing to treat his erectile dysfunction, according to the hospital. The doctor, Professor Meng Chi-jun, was left fighting for his life after suffering severe injuries on his neck and arms. God, I really don't like the sight of blood, guys. But you can see here, this is being reported by Den Qiangyuan of Weibo and aggregated by Panda Guides and China Wire. Another doctor, Liu Yangfei, who rushed to help Professor Meng, was slashed on his hand before the perpetrator was restrained by police. Both medics are in stable condition after undergoing emergency treatment, according to a statement of First Affiliate Hospital of the Zhengzhou University in Henan Province. Oh, that's good news. So they're going to be okay, it sounds like. The suspect, known by his surname Yin, has visited the Zhengzhou hospital multiple times in November for sex problems, including erectile dysfunction and low sperm production, the hospital said. Professor Meng, a urologist, saw the patient and ordered nurses to give Mr. Yin an injection in his penis. Mr. Yin was then examined with ultrasound. Ouch. Just reading this. Yeah, I can feel it. Sensory pain. I'm feeling it. The hospital did not specify if there were other treatments given to the man, but claimed that they had never received any complaints from the patient or his family following Mr. Yin's visits. It is said that Mr. Yin continued to suffer from sexual impotence and was convinced that his problems were the doctor's fault. Mr. Yin launched the unexpected attack on June 22nd after arriving at the hospital, pretending to see a doctor. Li, a doctor from the hospital, told reporters the attacker was in his 40s or 50s and had been to the hospital before. Dr. Meng gave him an examination last year, and the patient thought his body went wrong after Dr. Meng treated him. Professor Meng was said to have suffered 12 wounds on his face, neck, and arms. The second doctor was injured with a cut on his hand. The urologist underwent an emergency operation following the attack and was transferred to intensive care units after the surgery. He is said to be in stable condition. The Monday attack was revealed on Weibo by a popular medical account, which released the pictures of a man covered in blood, believing to be Professor Meng. Another image released by Jiangsu Television shows police officers arriving at the scene after the attack. Local police had detained Mr. Yin for the allegation of manslaughter and launched an investigation, according to the hospital. The statement continued, "While all of our staff are bravely fighting against the coronavirus, we feel deeply saddened and angry about such an attack against doctors. We strongly urge people to punish the attacker with quick, strong prosecution to protect doctors' rights and the medical environment," the notice said. I have seen many articles similar to this about knife attacks. It has been covered in the news here. It's not suppressed. There are many YouTubers and Western commentators out there that have brought this issue up many times, and rightly so. It is an issue here in China, and it doesn't just happen in hospitals. It happens in hospitals and it happens at schools for some reason. And it's a very sad thing. Now, that doesn't mean that it's prevalent in society here. It's just like gun shootings in America. Yeah, they are very, very tragic when they happen at schools and they get covered in the news, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening everywhere. You get a warped sense of reality if you just watch the news and get a small snippet of life. And when these types of stories come out, they are horrific, they deserve our attention, but it doesn't mean it is prevalent in the society as a whole. They do happen, and it is a problem that people need to be addressing. But the idea that they're not being reported on, one of the main reasons why I started this channel was to show you that all of this stuff is being reported on. The COVID-19 epidemic has been reported on, and everyone was very aware since the very beginning about what's going on here in China. Outside of China, you're not seeking the information. It's not being disseminated by your media sources, and therefore you have this idea that somehow it's being suppressed. Living my life here for many years, being able to read at least a little bit, and even though my Chinese reading abilities are not great, they are getting better. I still have the ability to use translation software. It's not that hard to be able to read news stories. This is a very horrific story. I don't necessarily like sharing stories like this, but I think I have a much larger reason for doing it. But what do you think? I'd love to hear your opinion. Comment below, let me know.